Now, I find it easiest to look at the shape of the shadow and think of it as an abstract, and then look at the shape of the light as a secondary abstract and a puzzle pieces that link together. And I take my time. If I have a shadow running down the face like here, and then it runs into the eye socket, down the nose, under the nose, if I can create that shape, even if it takes me 20 minutes to perfect the lengths and widths and the angles of each of those marks, and then just pull the shadow from that point out here, and don't even worry about the outer shape of the face, you'll immediately start to recognize the person just from that contour. Now, if I can define the other side of the face where it ends, the shadowed side dissolves into the background, and now I've got this sharp edge over here, which defines the shape of the light over here and the shadow on this side. Now it starts to look like the person. At that point, if I start breaking down edges and creating the impression of volume in the places where we turn the form, like, obviously a cast shadow is going to stay sharp, but going around the form, like going around here, you're going to have a soft graded edge. Going around the cheek, you're going to have a soft graded edge. And so if you can start putting those in and making the thing feel rounded, you could almost stop once you've got that done, and you would have a painting that would be recognizable. And again, based on that, if you were going to spend 3 hours working on a portrait, you could burn 2.5 hours just getting that contour between the shadow and light right with a brush this big, not a small brush, a big brush that doesn't allow you to think in details. Again, if you have a small brush, you are going to think in marks based on the size of the brush. If you're using a 6-inch roller, you can only get so small with your marks. And so you want to work with a big, clumsy tool to start. It's not the eyes and the nose and the mouth. It's not the details. It's not razor stubble. It's not individual hairs. It's the bone structure in the head that makes the person look the way they look. The eyes, the nose, and the mouth, they're decorative. They're like earrings. They really are decorative. And if you go and you look at John Singer Sargent, even portraits by guys like Zorn, you'll see that a lot of these paintings, particularly in the shadows, they barely even hint at an eye or a nostril. Sometimes just leave it out completely. It doesn't matter, because it doesn't actually have anything to do with the structure of the head. And your brain will fill in the blanks if the structure of the head is done well.
And we have some great questions already to kind of add into this. Nicholas asked, so when you're and let me see if I can actually share this comment. Here we go. So what parts of the structure are the most important? So we kind of talked about going down the middle of your face, following the brow, the nose, the mouth. So when you're doing this, how do we know what's most important? How do we know if an object's too big or too small to be considered structure or detail?
The easiest way to kind of describe is, say, if you can't see it from 30 feet away, it doesn't matter. It's utterly irrelevant if you can't see it from 30 feet away. And another thing, when you're first starting out, you want to make sure that you've got a decent percentage of the face in shadow, at least 25%, anywhere from like 25% to 33. So a quarter to a third of the face should be in shadow when you start. And then as you get better and better, you can eliminate shadow as you start to get a better sense of how the structure of the head works. A portrait that's lit like this can be extremely challenging if you don't have a process for tackling it. And and even if you're working shadows and lights, if there are no shadows, like, what do you do? And it's not that complex if you understand how it works, but starting with shadows is gonna give you a springboard into more complex, more delicate, or more subtle portrait work. But going back to the question, again, you walk back 25, 30 feet where all of the details go away. What's left is what matters.
Yeah, that's a great point. And another question here was, so we talked a little bit about kind of the ugly phase, or working, you work an hour and a half and really 2 hours is the mark where everything kind of comes together. How can students know that they're moving in the right direction, and know when that phase is kind of coming to an end, if they should keep working, or if they've reached the right point with their kind of large structure?
Well, first thing is that experience is the key, right? So If you're only doing the contour of the shadow against the light, and then putting in the light, and then creating the gradients to explain form, you just continue to manage the shadowed edge until it matches what you see. If it takes you 15 minutes or 15 hours, right? I mean, that's what you do, because you can't force the painting, the face to look like the person if you can't get that contour right. But once the contour is right, everything else just kind of flows from it. So you take your time. When you first do it, it's going to be clumsy. But if you do one and you spend your time, the key is patience, not being in a rush. Sit back and enjoy it, right? You could do one really quick and the proportions can be off, but you'll see immediately that even with the proportions off, it'll look like a face. Now that'll tell you, well, slow it down, be more specific, be more particular about the contour, right? But without any reference material on a 1-inch brush, I could do a 6-inch head in like, I don't know, 3 minutes. And I mean, I've done them at the school. Now it's not flawlessly proportional, and it's clumsy because it's a big brush on a small face, but you can see a 3-dimensional head roll out of that. And we're talking 3 minutes. Imagine if I spent an hour, really took my time and moved down to smaller brushes when the big brush didn't fit, right? And I'm not talking about brushes that do details. I'm talking about going down from a 1-inch brush to a 1/2-inch brush, right? So again, no details, just trying to keep it simple. I mean, that's, again, I can't stress that enough. We think that in order to make a portrait, we have to be able to do a portrait right from the beginning. Don't try to make finished art. Treat the beginning of the process as exercises. Again, like if you want to go out and you want to run a marathon, you don't run 26 miles a day.